It's time for today's episode of the UGA Sports Live Podcast, recorded in front of a slightly tipsy studio audience at world-famous Champy's Fried Chicken. We will have the latest on Georgia Bulldogs football, basketball, and recruiting. Watch live and send us your questions on the 11 Alive Sports page on Facebook. Be advised this podcast is off the record and not safe for work. Also, be sure to subscribe to the UGA Sports Live Podcast on iTunes and Google Play.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the UGA Sports Live Podcast. My name is Rodney Nabulsi. I'm joined here by Jake Roos and Jim Donnan. Jim Donnan, the former head coach of the University of Georgia and a college football Hall of Famer. I have no special accolades, and Jake is a recruiting superstar, UGAsports.com. He's the one that told you well ahead of time that Georgia's going to be picking up some major commits.
I told you not to worry about G-Day either. If you didn't see the action, they had the one kid, and everybody said, "Oh, it was a bust." What a difference a month makes. Three huge commits since that time.
So a 5-star, a 4-star, and a 4-star.
Yes.
No, not too shabby.
Not bad.
Not too shabby.
We'll dive in.
We'll dive into that. Of course, we want to give a big shout-out to all our sponsors, Athens Ford, Aaron Overhead Doors, Your Pie, Academia Brewing Company, Cable East, 365 Game Day, and, of course, Champy's on Back Street, where we are today and just about every day. We won't be here next week, though. Somebody's going on vacation. We're not going to rat him out, but that guy won't be here, so no show next week. But
if you were guessing, who would you think?
Hey, shut up. Hey, it's been good for Georgia when I've been out of town.
Hey, well, that's true. That's true.
Anyway, so no show next week, but we have a lot to talk about this week. Go ahead and, if you would, like the 11 Live Facebook page. They are letting us come to you. That's the reason you're able to watch the show. And if you get a chance, swing by Champy's. The students are out. They've graduated. They've moved on. Not a better time to come down to Champy's, because I know there's a lot of you Athens folk who wait for the students to leave before you venture out. Come down to Champy's, have some great chicken, have some great tamales, have some fried chicken livers.
And some cold Academia beer.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to jump right into it this week. Coach, big day yesterday for Georgia on the defensive line.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that we always talk about is the difference in the really great programs, besides just overall talent, is having a dominating line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. And, you know, we really have made some tremendous some strides forward here the last couple of weeks, not only with the guys we've signed, but the ones that are, not committed, but the ones that are still in the fold that we got a chance to get. And, you know, I thought about Jalen Carter yesterday, and I think about the guy being from Florida and close to Cape Kennedy. And when you see they have those, you know, you go early in the morning, you see those missiles shoot off. That's what we're getting ready to see with this guy. I'm telling you, this guy is going to rocket up the list. I mean, when you see the fact he's 16 years old, he's only been playing D-line 1 year. He played tight end before. You guys had good pictures of him. They changed coaches. He's now playing defensive line. He's already at 290. He can run. He can jump. We see him on the internet dunking. You always know, I feel, if a guy can dunk, he can play. And he's just a puppy that's going to be a dog. This guy is the real deal. I don't get too excited too often. You talk about my mouth water, I guarantee it feels like Niagara Falls right now. Wow, what a recruiting deal that was. Tremendous job by two really good recruiters. You know, Coach Fountain has that area. He did a good job, and Coach Scott went in there with him. And, of course, you know, we've got Lanning working on the outside and then Kirby, but everybody's excited about not only what he can do now, but the upside of this guy. And that's what you always want to look at, a guy that's, can really run, jump, hit, physical. Just to take him right out of Florida, just outstanding.
Jake tweeted out a video of Jalen Carter, the new Georgia commit, dunking a basketball. And it wasn't like you see some of these guys who are
this wasn't him standing under the rim and
they barely get over it. It's that angle.
He comes from the windmill.
It was a windmill with a
twist.
If Charles Barkley was he would have given him a 10 in the contest.
Absolutely.
And the thing about it is, again, you know, I try to keep from getting too excited on this program because you got to take all recruits with a grain of salt. But realistically, as hard as it is to get a D lineman that can play like this, it's just I think about that kid that played at Alabama. He looks a lot like Darius. I really think he looks, he just got the physical talent to come in and do so much. And we had some great pics of him of G-Day when he was here, and he looked really excited about everything. And just a pleasant kid that really going to just, we got another year before he gets here. But just, boy, you look at the last couple weeks, the guys we got and the guys we got on the maybe you got a chance to get now on a national perspective. 3 backs, one in Texas, one in California, one in Maryland. Then you got Gilbert over here in at Marietta, and just Ringo just in here. I mean,
Kylie Ringo, the 5-star cornerback, he looked like he was having a great time on that scavenger hunt.
His mom looked like she was having a great time, and that's about as good as anything.
She might have more followers now from the Georgia fans than Kylie does.
Yeah, I tell you, that was really an interesting thing that they came up with a couple years ago, and it just gives you a different perspective. And I heard Kirby relating to that, see how these kids compete, how they feel about it, give them something different. Everybody does the same thing on these visits. So, but really the Georgia program right now, academically came through the semester well. We got one guy, in the transfer portal. You don't know what's going to happen with Jaden, but I hope it works out good for him. But overall, the health of our team, we don't have a lot of injuries. We got White coming back from surgery. Also, Marshall. Should be a great summer for us.
Well, I want to touch real quick on something you said about Jalen Carter, and you were talking about making that comparison with Marcel Darius. I think that what people don't understand is how badly Alabama wanted this kid. I mean, they were heavily in on this guy. Now, he did have a Final Three at Clemson and Alabama. I was told Clemson wasn't really given much of a push, but Alabama absolutely was all over this kid. They wanted him to be part of that class. So a huge steal for Georgia in that regard. And anytime you can dive into the state of Florida, pull him away from the Floridas of the world, the Florida states, that's always got to be a huge mark in your favor.
Well, we'll look at what's happening in the state of Florida right now. The fact that Alabama, Clemson, along with the University of Georgia, just going in there and just cherry picking top 10 players out of there. Used to never happen when Spurrier was there, when Meyer was there, when Coach Bowden was there, when Butch Davis was there. But right now with these 3 coaches at these, I think Miami's picking it up a little bit, but we're in there being very, picking and choosing. And the same thing's true with out in California with UCLA and USC being down. I'm saying this again, but you got to go get these guys. And, our coaches are on the road and have done a terrific job with it.
I did want to mention something about the coaches. We don't talk about Scott Fountain a whole lot. We mentioned a lot of the great recruiters at Georgia, the great coaches. We don't mention him. When we mention Trey Scott, it's usually in the, what has he done for me lately scenario, who's he got, who's he missed on. Again, the defensive linemen are tough to get. But 2 Fridays ago, I was down in Albany, Georgia, talking to Zycavius Walker, the number 74 player in the nation, kid who's 265, 6'4", great defensive potential, and he is raving about Scott Fountain. Then Trey Scott. Now, here's the thing. 3 weeks ago, no one was talking about Trey Scott. Nobody. Nowhere. And you start talking about, hey, I think Georgia's got a shot at this guy. I had to look him up. I'm like, who the hell's Trey Scott? I mean, not Trey Scott.
Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter. No one's talking about Jalen Carter. And I'm like, what's going on here? So we look him up, and sure enough, you're like, you put him in your list of 5 guys that might commit. And I'm like, you're on crack. Sure enough, a week later, he's committed. But the point being, another get for Coach Fountain.
I agree. And
you got Ryan Davis too, right?
Yeah, he was very heavily in that one.
So again, I feel bad that we haven't mentioned him enough, and I want to give a shout out to Scott Fountain for. He's not just a tight ends coach. He's not just a special teams coach. He was a former tight ends coach. This is a guy who knows football and who's becoming a very effective guy for Georgia.
And he's a really down to earth guy that relates to the players and gives Kirby maybe a little bit more older guy. Not that he's old, but a little bit more seasoned guy, compared to some of these younger ones that he hired early. And I think the blend there is good, and he's really got that kind of tempo on the field and the personality that really kind of relates to the kickers. I think he can get on them a little bit, but he also realizes it's a psychological thing being a kicker. And just to see him on Twitter yesterday, that was a pretty good little deal with him and his son, where about a good day to be a UGA guy. And that's great. Hey, you take a lot of pride. You work these guys hard. And I think you bring up the kid that you went to the track meet. I think this guy is really another guy that really has a lot of potential. And
question.
Zacchaeus Walker, you could put him in like 3 different places.
Yeah, and I think he's going to probably be living in area code 30606.
Well, there you have it.
And that's the thing. You mentioned Scott Fountain not only as a recruiter but as a positional coach. I think people underrate what he does on the field. I mean, with that position
you don't
group,
see him.
you don't.
Right.
But you also don't worry about kicking woes like you did. Initially that first year with Rodrigo and trying to settle on a guy. I mean, they've worked all the kinks out there. The special teams feels very solid. So Scott Fountain getting it done on both ends.
Well, remember, a lot of people were saying, when they wanted that 10th coach, and people would scream, "Hey, we need a special teams coach." Every time there was a shanked punt or a missed field goal or a poor coverage on a kickoff, you need a special teams coach, and that doesn't go away just because you hire one. But Scott Fountain has been able to coach up those guys, and in other words, the people that are screaming about it now, they're like, hey, we were right. Maybe they were.
I think go back to Kirby Smart, though. When you had a chance to add a coach, you added Hankton to get us another guy on offense that could add to the and he did a terrific job with the receivers last year. You look at all those guys that got drafted. He has some pro experience. These kids look at that. How can I get in the league? So, Kirby just keeps pushing the right buttons, and we just got to get over the hump here. And I think it was good that he was able to get Fountain back so quickly when Beamer left, and because he knew exactly what Kirby wanted with the special teams. And mark my word, our special teams have been a difference maker in the last 2 years on our team.
Yeah, you don't play for a national title if it weren't for the special teams unit. And last year you had some fantastic special teams. You had a couple issues on punting, but you get a freshman punter out there, and we've seen what he looked like in the spring. That's fantastic. But my point was, Coach Fountain, we'd never give him enough credit, and every time we talk about Trey Scott, it's almost, I don't want to say derogatory, but everyone's ripping on what he hasn't done. Give him credit for getting three defensive linemen already, 4 in the last class.
Yeah, look at the last
3 this one.
Class,
that's what I'm saying. 4, 3. He's got 7. He's right there for Walker. That could be 4 in this class, 4 in the last class, and they're not gonna stop there. So between Trey Scott identifying with the players, as Coach said, they see a guy like themselves in Trey Scott. Then they have the father figure, you will, in Scott Fountain, a guy who's a little bit older that they can identify with. Then the excitement of Dan Lanning on that defense, and Kirby Smart, the youth, the energy. It's an intoxicating mix, and it's paying dividends on the recruiting trail.
And I think bringing in Warren, too, has been really good from a national perspective because he had that those contacts around the country that, he's been able to go into Arizona and out to California. Now we've already got, we got 2 guys out of Texas already. One this year that's on spring practice and, Sign. Pronounce that for me.
Lewis Sign.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, you got him, and then you got this Kimber coming in, and you got we got some other guys we're talking to.
Well, yeah, you got Akinola, who's committed for this class. They're looking real hard at Seth McGowan. He was the Rivals 250 running back out of the state of Texas who was visiting this past weekend for the scavenger hunt. I think they feel good about their chances there. So,
one of my duties here that our invaluable controller, Rodney, tells me to do with my tasks. He gives you guys all these road work, but he says, hey, talk to these people around the country and find out. And I have
I've seen the people that call your phone. It's unreal who reaches out to you.
But I'm telling you, though, that
everybody.
Talking to these so-called guys that are in the know about recruiting beside you, and also but more talent evaluating, and scouts and people like that, they say that the one thing that's overwhelming in talking to different kids around the country don't have any tie-ins with rivals or any, like we do, is the fact that all these guys are just enamored with Kirby's success at Alabama and here of putting guys in the league.
Yeah.
And they know, based on what their coaches, high school coaches tell them and what everybody else based on performance, that he is a really good teacher. And we've got that model, that practice model that emanates down from Belichick that works, how to teach and how to develop and how to work and practice and get that two-spot reps. And I know, like this spring, our coaches are after now that they've finished their recruiting, they're going to different pro camps and different places to talk about areas like practice organization, game day management, things like that. Kirby's on top of that right now. They just finished recruiting. Now they're going out and visiting pro camp. Did you know that?
I did not know that. This is why I had to have you reach out to these guys. And to be fair, Kirby also, they have that huge coaches clinic where they bring in a ton of coaches from around the state. So it's like he's not just, stealing ideas from other people. He's giving out to the high school coaches, and I've spoken to 2 high school coaches that have both attended that clinic, and they say it's the best money they spend every year.
And what only reason they charge them, they just can't give it away. But it gets back to what I was saying, though. If you're a high school coach and know jack diddly about coaching, and you watch our guys on the field, you know that they're teaching. And so that transmits to these players. Say, look, this guy's going to take you and make you better. Hey, Sam Pittman, based on fact, he's going to bring you in and teach you the techniques. He's going to get you ready. Look at his track record, whether it's North Carolina, Tennessee, Arkansas, Georgia. He's got guys in the league. That's the way it is.
Chris Morris, Rivals 250 or 100?
He's a 250. No, he's at 100. He is 100.
Rivals 100, offensive guard. Spoke to him. He's out of Memphis, I believe. This past weekend, Jake and I went up to Murfreesboro, right outside of Nashville, to cover the opening camp up there. Talked to a lot of 5-star, a lot of 4-star guys. About 15 guys?
Yeah, a lot of stuff coming.
A lot of stuff coming that you need to pay attention to. Had the only story on Paris Johnson that went up Sunday afternoon. So if you want to know what's going on with the number 1 offensive tackle in the nation, go to UGASports.com, 27 cents a day. You can check it out. He had a lot to say about Georgia, some very interesting and a little bit of controversial things to say about Georgia, so you need to check that out. He also told us what Justin Fields was saying about Georgia. So Paris Johnson being the Ohio State commit, they talk a lot about it. But I was talking to Chris Morris, one of the most coveted interior linemen in the nation, and he said, Sam Pittman, without a question, best offensive tackle coach in the nation. I thought that was high praise coming from a guy like that. And some people want Chris Morris as a tackle, someone as an interior guy, but that gives Sam Pittman his credibility. My point being, the development, and we see Tate Crowder is actually in the restaurant. He's in the back there eating chicken. I'm sure that's been okay, but they're out of school. He's actually at Champy's today having lunch. If you needed an example of a guy being developed, if you can take a former running back and make him a starting inside linebacker in the SEC, that's a pretty good staff of coaches.
Yeah, not bad.
I do want to point out something.
Great example of being the kind of player you want there. Good job there, Trey.
So we're giving Trey some grief. And he just went out the wrong door. So
nice.
Hey, we got to teach him to open the door for the woman, though. He don't walk in front of him. We got to give him a little etiquette there.
But, especially if it's the door to the patio. Anyway, I want to give a big shout out to Academia Brewing Company because we're knocking back their beers here. We do it every Tuesday. The best part of my job is
Speak for yourself. You just do this on Tuesday?
I know. I do it on Tuesday, but I don't want to talk about what an absolute alcoholic I am. But knock back as part of the job, we'll get to drink on it, so it's fantastic. If you go to the Academia's Facebook page, Academia Brewing Company, AKADEMIA, Academia. Check out their Facebook. That's where they have all their specials. They talk about their ramen nights, all the special meals that they make up. I love this event that they're going to have on June 8th, just a few weeks. They're basically having a Nacho Libre and Nachos night. So come out. They say bring your stretchiest stretchy pants for a Nacho Libre on the big screen in the brew pub. Chef Brian is serving up some tasty loaded nachos as well as some very Mexican street corn. So good you can't get it out of your face. Also, a very limited number of Academia embroidered luchador masks will be for sale.
And you can count on Roddy being there and wearing one of those.
Absolutely.
Shirtless and dressed as Nacho Libre.
Shirtless, maybe pantsless. You got to be careful. With a little,
after a couple of skulls, perhaps.
Oh, those skulls. You got to get out there and try that. And of course, the Hunker Down Brown, all their fantastic beers. So they do fun stuff like Nacho Libre night with, and think about it, when you got a chef working on the nachos, they're going to be fantastic. Chef Brian is fantastic. They have 2 showings. They have an afternoon showing at 3 o'clock and an evening showing starting at 8. So swing out there and try that. And they do percentage nights for like Shepherd's Men on the 25th, 4 days from now. So every Monday they have some community event. You got to try it out. Of course, they have trivia and food and an artist network night. And, again, they do a lot of stuff for the community. So you get a chance, swing by Academia Brewing Company.
Absolutely.
I got something for you here now that just – I got to get you rolling here now and get your blood boiling. So right now we got 10 guys committed for 20. What would you say at this point would be the numbers of this next 12 or 14, depending on how many guys we could take? I don't know if we get 25 or not, but how would you break down what else we need here? And I'm going to give you a New York minute to tell us.
I'm going to go with 2 running backs. I think that you're definitely doing that in this class. I think you ideally want 2 tight ends, so that's 4. You're going to probably take 2 more on the defensive line, so that's got you up to 6. I think you're going to take 2 more wide receivers possibly.
And 1 more quarterback.
Yeah, right. No. I'm going to go 2 more wide receivers, 1 more offensive lineman. Oh, God. And let's say 3 defensive backs.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you could –
because that's a real –
there's another linebacker in there, too.
The dilemma here is, there's so many great players that are still out there that are uncommitted, and realistically it's hard to just say, hey, why don't you get all these guys to sign? I mean, these guys got some tremendous opportunities. I mean, you're going against some every school we're going against is, got the same opportunities we have, playing in the big games.
Great academics.
All that. So it's going down to us, Alabama, and Clemson on all these kids. And so, and occasionally when it's an out-of-state school, then it'll be LSU or Texas or whoever it might be. But I do think that being able to delegate who we're going to take to fill these slots is going to be paramount.
Yeah.
Because there's, you keep hearing about all these. You mentioned an offensive lineman up there at Murfreesboro at that opening. There's other guys out there.
We could name 10 offensive linemen that Georgia is in on, but they've already got 3.
But that's what I'm saying.
Take one more.
That's what I'm saying. You can really be selective. And, boy, we got three really good linemen already. I mean, those 3 guys. And so you think maybe 3 defensive backs. So if I would say we're going to get Gilbert, and then we got to figure out who the other guy. Obviously, it'd be hard to get the kid from Las Vegas. But
yeah, you got maybe a chance. I think you got a good chance though with the kid from Canada, Theo Johnson. I think that he's a very strong possibility at that tight end spot.
And they had another guy come with Cam Large.
Yeah, Cam Large. He just visited for the scavenger hunt. Big tight end. So
I mean, so you say 2 tight ends, and then 3 backs. We know all 3 of those guys. We'll take 2 of them. Obviously, that would be great if you just get 1 of them because when you look at who you're going after. And then the defensive backs, who would you say of those DBs are left that you would go on? And I'm just trying to get you some.
No. That's
stuff, man.
These
fans are waiting for it.
That's a tough one. Let me pull up the offers list because I know I'll always leave somebody.
How about that guy? 89,000 last night.
All right, so Keely Ringo definitely is priority A1, I think.
He's a corner, right?
Yep. You got Dwight McLaughlin, who's also a corner. He really likes Georgia. I think that they got a great shot with him. You've got Jalen Kimber already in. As far as your safeties go, I'm looking very heavily at Avante Williams. This was a kid who visited for the scavenger hunt, has been to Georgia several times. He's an Oregon commit, but has never been to Oregon. Out of Deland, Florida, so
that's
he's
why
going to be
committed to him.
So he's going to be hearing from.
When I'm taking a drink,
he's going to be. A guy that, is going to be hearing a lot, I think, from Jalen Carter down there in Apopka. Xavier Alford is a kid to watch. He's going to be visiting over the summer. Said he's really interested to see how things play out with Georgia as well. I think that they've got. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility here. If you look at the athletes.
O-line, though, wouldn't you think Braun's a man?
I think Braun's the guy on the offensive line. I do. I really do. And now
that would give us a show here that we have every Tuesday for all you fans. That would be 4 for 4 that you rattle out of the box for us. That you said when nobody knew these guys like you do, you go back to the kid from Texas. And, of course, we knew about Ratledge and we knew about, some other things. And early on, everybody knew about the kid that's a 5-star over here. What's his name?
Broderick Jones, yeah.
So if we get this Braun kid,
Yeah, but think about that. Braun,
We'll let you come on and have this show by yourself next week.
if you think about lining up Tate Radledge, Broderick Jones on the outside, and then you put in a Josh Braun on the inside and Akinola as your other guard, that's legit.
Well, and you get a guy like Braun who is huge, and he's going to be that versatile guy.
Yeah.
He's going to be, and they.
Well, that's why I'm saying he's the guy because you've got 2 tackles, you want 3
2 true tackles.
You know, you can. Here's a guy that can do both because you might actually need. I know everyone says, "Well, Georgia's got a ton of guards." Yeah, they do, but they're not all freshmen.
Yeah, and I think you cross-train him there as well to sweeten the pot a little bit for next year when you've got guys like Micah Morris and Amarius Mims who are already looking at Georgia.
Absolute tackles, yeah.
Some of the top 21 guys in America,
that kid
in state, they love Georgia.
Mims, you showed his picture.
Yeah, he's not small.
But, one thing that really amazes me, though, because when you look at these running backs that Dale McGee's in on, the fact that Milton's from California came here unofficially back in for G-Day and came to practice and watched everything. His dad was out there. I would sign his dad right there.
I'm still checking to see if DeAndre Swift's dad's got any eligibility.
But he's coming back on June 14th for official visit. Did you know that?
There you go. Yeah.
He's coming in.
I didn't know that.
That's going to be the Braun weekend, too. I believe Trenton Simpson's going to be in town for that weekend. So
we didn't even mention linebackers.
Big official visit weekend.
And I think deep down that had to hurt us a little bit with Miles Murphy. I mean, he pictured himself as an outside linebacker type guy. He's going to probably be inside for sure, but – let me tell you something.
Is he going to drop 30 pounds?
I tell you something I like about Simpson. It's just his demeanor. There's some people like, let's just say you're interviewing somebody for a job and you really don't know a lot about their characteristics and all, but when you just start talking to them, you just feel, hey, this guy's got it. When you talk to Simpson, which I was fortunate enough to do at practice one day, and we had a little bit of back and forth because my dad moved to Charlotte when I was a senior in high school and college, but I never lived there. But we started talking about Charlotte and everything like that. This guy has got some walking around sense now. I mean, he could be a guy that could be, on your student government or something. I mean, you got that kind of reminds me of Roquan. Just happy.
I was going to say, it reminds me of N'Kobe Dean. The first time you talk to him, you're like, this kid has it.
It just makes you feel good about the kind of guy that is going to be, because it's not easy to go to school here now. I just think this guy come in here and be a player and do a good job on campus and everything.
Well, and you mentioned, Carter making the transition over from playing a lot of tight end over to the D-line. Trenton Simpson's a guy who spent a lot of his career on the offensive side of the ball, carrying the ball from Mallard Creek. He's
over 1,000 yards.
He's just now starting to make that transition to linebacker because coaches have come in and said, hey, look, at the next level, this is what we see you as. You've got the speed and you've got the size. And, so this is a kid whose ceiling we don't really know yet.
Wait, is that a Mallard Creek? I'll take him.
And that's when
it's like
that day we put Walker Grant at running back just to show him that that's what our flexibility can do,
Yeah, no doubt.
That was a good move by Coley, I thought. I mean, seriously, we were hurting for running backs in the spring for injuries and things like that and, depth. And you put this guy, and, when I was coaching here, we had a guy that, we had some really good wide receivers and some pretty good backs, but we used a situation where we used to call it gang, G-A-N-G people, where we'd put 3 wide receivers and 2 backs and then, put a guy back there and then let him JoJo out and be on a weak side or strong side and be a receiver or blocker. And Walker would be really good at that. And where it's so good for you, Jake and Roddy, is the fact that people think you got regular people in the game. They're going to have, probably not put their nickel in against that look. You got regular people, and then he moves out there, and you got a mismatch there on the linebacker. I like that.
No, absolutely. No question about it. Speaking of liking things.
Oh, yeah, I'm checking out the Athens Ford Facebook page.
You're not even paying attention anymore.
No, but when I noticed they had 1,018 cars on the lot, I was like, wow, they got over 1,000. So, again, we talked about it a few weeks ago. They had like 930, and then they dropped down to 800, then they're back up to 1,000. These guys are moving cars hand over fist. I mean, it's one of the best dealerships out there. People continue to go out there. People don't buy just one car there. They get their next car. Their friends and family are recommended to go out there. If you go on their site right now, you get a $500 off any vehicle coupon just by giving them your email address. But this is something I hadn't seen before. They actually will give you an instant cash offer to sell or trade your car. You want to know what your trade-in's worth, or you just want to get rid of it? Sell it to Athens Ford. You type in the VIN, you type in the year and the model and all that stuff, and they will give you an offer. It's you can keep the cash or you can use it as a down payment. It's an instant cash offer. It's genius. It's fantastic. And again, these are people who want your business. So what are they going to? They're going to take care of you. So if you get a chance, swing by Athens Ford. There's more cars out there than you can shake a stick at. Over 1,000 on their lot. So again, it's not like, hey, I want the F-150 in purple. No, well, that's a special order. Hell, they probably have it out there. Just swing by Athens Ford, whatever you can dream of, they probably have it on the lot. You don't have to go, hey, come back in 3 weeks and we'll get it shipped out of, Boston or something like that.
Well, here's the thing. I guarantee you if they don't, they will get it to you ASAP and make sure that you're very happy with you receive delivery.
It's when we talk, I also talk about air and overhead doors just being a customer service company that just happens to sell overhead doors. The customer service aspect of Athens Ford, it's not, hey, here's the numbers. It's not, there's the numbers we need to move. It's, here's the customers we need to take care of. Oh, guess what? They happen to buy cars. That's great. Or they came in for service. Again, they're going to do a good job by you because it's in their best interest and yours, because they're not trying to sell you one car. They're trying to become your car dealership for life. And I had a young lady who had a issue, walked out of the gym yesterday and saw that, she mentioned that I think her car was hit. She hit a deer, and I walk out and I see Athens Ford courtesy vehicle. So I'm like, there you go. So again, service par excellence. Par excellence. Above and beyond was where I was going to, and I was tripping up there. Above and beyond your needs is what you're going to get when you got to Athens Ford.
A lot of comments and questions coming in today. Let's hop into some of those.
I did get a text right now that I got to tell you.
All right. Hit me with that.
Breaking news. Florida's mascot just decommitted.
Tough times, man. And I'll tell you this. What's super interesting to me about what's going on down there is the trickle-down effect. Because you've seen like most of they had like 4 or 5 kids for 2021 committed. All of them are off the board now.
We're done.
They're having to push reset on a lot of stuff. So
let's go ahead here.
I'm going to say Christian Robinson deserves better.
We got a question here that I think, Roddy, you should be able to answer.
I'll make it up, yeah.
Brandon Burnside wants to know, anybody from UGA Sports going to be at the Bulldog Coaches Caravan in Augusta tonight? Dash making that trip?
No.
Okay. No, he won't. Yeah, he made
it
to make
for
it
your
last
information, there's not going to be one there. Kirby said he's not going.
Really?
I think that's a mistake. If we got somebody going down to cover it, it's not going to happen.
All right.
No, we're not, but we've been to Augusta many times. So
it's a good place. I mean, it's always one of my favorite stops.
You can listen to Kirby, or you can invite us to come down.
But I'm serious.
Here's what we need to do is, Coach, we need to start a UGA Sports Caravan. You, me, and Jake, we will go to all these Bulldog Club meetings. You want facts.
Contact our agents.
You don't have to give $25,000 to the McGill. But we could go have a good time. That's okay. But
we're a tenth of the cost, if that. And
a tenth is informative.
Exactly. No, 100%, because we're not going to give you a bunch of party line stuff. So, and we always do. Whenever we go and talk to one of these clubs, we do our off the record Q&A. Look, don't record it. If you say we said something, we're going to deny it. But you want to know what we've really heard, we will do the off-the-record Q&A, no holds barred. So reach out, send me an email or hit me up on Twitter, Roddy@UGAsports.com. You can RADI at UGAsports.com. Hit us up, and we will, because we've been to Orlando, Panama City, Valdosta, Kingsland, Jacksonville.
Yeah, you've been there.
I've sent Dash.
He's a solo man.
I've sent Dash before.
Solo cup.
I'm saying UGA Sports as a whole. Well, it's like when I break news, I say we reported.
Sure.
That's good.
I'll
You break it. Yeah. Let's go.
All right.
But I'm breaking this. Kirby told me he wasn't going to Augusta tonight. Maybe he's not. Maybe he is.
Chuck Ward points out, and I think this is a great point. He says Apopka, where Jalen Carter goes to high school, has been a pipeline to Gainesville since Sammy Smith left for FSU in the mid-'80s. He says now you get Trouble Davis, Ryan Davis, also out of Apopka down there in Waukeva, and Carter from Apopka. That's a hotbed for talent.
People don't realize that are outside that geography unless you're just a really like Chuck here knows a lot about Florida football, but that is a hotbed. I mean, when I was coaching in Oklahoma, we were trying to recruit Sammy Smith out of Apopka, and we're also going after Leon Perry right there at Jones High School right there in Orlando, and both of them just outstanding players. And to have two guys like that in one class, I mean, back-wise. And then we were after Tim Worley, too. But let me tell you something. Orlando's always had really good coaching, good athletes. They benefit from the weather. They have year-round, practices and stuff. And some of the schools, have gone up and down.
Down there is pretty good,
some
too.
of them have gone up and down a little bit because of coaches retiring and, starting with new guys. But for us to get a little bit of a stronghold in there, Gators kind of count on some of those kids just going to that, that played there.
Sure.
And that was huge.
Well, that's why when you mentioned Mallard Creek, I said I'd take a kid.
Yeah.
You tell me a kid's coming out of Goose Creek, South Carolina, I want him. You tell me American Heritage or Plantation, I want the kid. Apopka is another one. There are some certain strongholds that you're like, look, I know it's not just what they get in high school. The feeder system leading into that school, these kids are learning how to play at a young age, and you take the physical talents they have and you mold them from, third grade on. By the time they're a sophomore in high school, these kids are.
Well, tell me this about the opening, just because of the local area here. How did that receiver from Athens Academy look up?
Yeah, he had a great showing and great testing numbers. Deion Colsey,
you got him in
kid.
You got him in the linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's doing a good job at Academy. I mean, they can't get over the hump that last game, but I'm just saying he's done a heck of a job.
They got a great young tight end out there as well. 2021 kid who's going to be very impactful.
A 2023 kid named JJ.
Let's touch on some of these too. Jeremy McClendon says, "Made it while it's live. Thank you for tuning in while it's live." Jeremy, he says, "Rooster, in your professional opinion, IPA or lager? Depends on what kind of night you're trying to have. I always lean IPA, but if you want to keep your pants on,
this is why he can never be the publisher.
You got your time.
He's wrong.
You got different times of the day. You drink different stuff.
I like to vary it up. A lager is an early day beer, and then as you ease into the night, you start drinking the heavier stuff. Yeah. Ronnie Brown wants to know, who do you think the Dogs will finish the D-line class with? Very good question, and we put that on our What's Next yesterday. We put a bunch of options up there. I think Zykevius Walker is the big name to keep circled. He's the one that I feel probably most confident about. I'm leaning toward Jay Hardy. As probably the other guy right now. But you got Eric Taylor, who gave a great update to Chad Simmons. We put that up yesterday. Kid out of Trussville, Alabama.
Jay Hardy's from Chattanooga, right?
He is.
I wanted you to talk about the kid you wrote about that just visited.
Yeah, Corey Wren. Yeah. So this is a guy definitely to get to know, because a lot of people have been asking me, where are they going at wide receiver? What are they going to do in this class at wide receiver? You got Justin Robinson, have him committed, has been for a while. Otherwise, you don't have a ton of names just jumping off the page.
Well, it seems like last year that's all we talked about was wide receivers.
Sure. Well, because you had Jaden Hazelwood.
But again, and then George Pickens and all that good. But it's like every show it was about wide receivers, and it feels like this year we're not even mentioning it.
Well, we got Cager, Pickens, and Blaylock coming in. That's three.
It's strong. I'm just saying that's all we talked about
next week. I mean, 2 weeks from today, 2 weeks from yesterday, when those guys report, our wide receiver room is going to get a lot better.
Speaking of, Cager's about to graduate, he'll be here in 1 week. It'll be 28th.
So Corey Wren, the kid, he's out of John Curtis High School down there in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Ooh.
So
this is good school.
This is another great school, another one that's always produced talent. This is a kid who a lot of speed. And that's what they want. They need a guy in this class who's got those burners, that's the guy. A lot of people have been asking me that question too. Who's going to be our speed guy? You've got Justin Robinson, and he's a great runner, but he's a big physical receiver. Yeah. I mean, that's first and foremost what he does. Corey Wren, this guy, 5'10", 5'11", kind of on the border there, but tons of speed. A track guy, calls himself the fastest prospect in the nation. So I'd be interested to see him line up.
5-star challenge, see what he can do.
But visited this weekend, had great things to say about Georgia. We'll be back to Athens, I think, in about 2 weeks, is what he said.
And that's why I wanted to ask you, because I like the quote that stuck out to me was when I talked to Cortez Hankton, he talks to me about what's out there outside of Louisiana. I want to leave Louisiana. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure he'd have you come in. So I was just looking at that quote that you had, and I'm like, this kid
Think about, too, I mean, LSU's got 2 really good receivers committed now. I mean, come on.
Dante
Burton and who's the other one? They got 2 guys.
Rakim Jarrett out of the D.C. area.
I mean, they got.
Dante Edie says, don't sleep on Micaiah Tongue. I agree. Micaiah is, I think,
where are we going to play him, though? I guarantee he'd be on special teams first round out of the box.
Ab Harding says, can Georgia land Jordan Birch, 5-star out of Columbia, South Carolina? The Hammond School is where he plays. This is a guy that I do feel that Georgia is very much in it with. I think it's a 3-team race between Clemson, South Carolina, and Georgia. Clemson is the team I would give the edge to right now. This is the quietest kid on the trail right now. South Carolina, I'm told, feels good about their chances, but he keeps coming back to Georgia. He was there for G-Day. He came back for the scavenger hunt. He's definitely making this interesting for sure.
No, he would be a steal.
There's no question. Yeah, one of the best. Rodney Brown here with another good one. He says, who do you guys see contributing the most this year? Zeus, George Pickens, or Dominic Blaylock? That's an interesting trio of guys. I'm gonna go with Blaylock. I think that he's got a chance to get in there and make an impact. He'll play some special teams. I think he's a guy who can he could probably do some return stuff for you. He's going to kind of play that Terry Godwin sort of Mecole Hardman role for you, I think, as well. So I think Blaylock's got a real good shot at it.
Let's see if George Pickens makes it in.
Yeah. One thing I would say is give me 2 months here. Let me go over there to the camps. Let me go over there to when they're 7-on-7, and then see how, some of these guys right out of the box just fit in and pick up things quicker than others. And like last year, you had a situation like
Trey Hill and Cade Mays.
Well,
they picked it up right away.
Yeah, but they're both in spring practice, man. But I'm talking. Let me give my thoughts here before you rattle the box. I'm talking about the guy coming in.
That's a good point.
In the 1st of June. And how they're going to react. You look at number 10 for us that got hurt last year, the receiver.
Kyrus Jackson?
Yeah. I mean, he just couldn't get enough reps because all the guys that were out there. You know what I mean? And not to mention Crumpton and the other guys. So he's going to be a redshirt freshman to go. So we really have 4 new receivers that haven't played that are going to jump in there. So I think any of those guys could be significant, but a lot's going to be. I really feel Zeus feels good about talking to him. He feels good about how he's looking at it objectively. And Kirby made a good point listening to him yesterday that he's really gone over the time limit for a ACL. It's usually 9 months, but he's got a situation where he's going to be when fall camp starts. It'll be a whole year. So he'll be ready to go, and we'll take it a little slow with him. But I know that Ron Corson and all those guys over there feel good about his rehab, and that's a heck of a question. But I'm going to answer that. Remember to ask that in about 2 months, Ronnie Brown.
So Coach is dodging it. I'm going to say dodging it. I will take Blaylock, as you said. And this is not anything against George Pickens. George Pickens is a monster.
Yeah,
this is a guy who, if you look at what he's capable of, that's a guy that comes in, incredible gifts. But I think that we have not – well, I know we have, but I don't think the fans give enough credit. They look too much at the rankings and not enough of what Dominic Blaylock does. This guy commits early, learns the system. He is bright. He's 10 times smarter than anybody on this show. This is a kid who's going to learn the playbook fast. He is going to
speak for yourself.
No. He's only 5 times smarter than you, Coach. This kid is quick and is going to knock out the when it comes to the workouts. He's going to be one of the first guys in there. He's going to get himself ready. And that great work ethic, very bright, and I think it would the cerebral ability to make an impact early on. He's like, oh, they need something here. I'm going to get myself into that spot. There's something that we're missing here. I'm going to get over there. So
you two guys, you two gurus, you two know-it-all guys are saying that the number one player in the country is not going to make more impact than he did because of his injury. Is that what you're saying about Zeus?
I just don't – that's the thing. I don't know what to expect from him now. I don't know if he's going to be the same guy. That's my only concern. I mean, if he's anything close, then he's going to be the guy. But I want to see him running around and fall back.
He's a generational back. He is phenomenal. I think, though, his first year back or his first year playing will be like the year that Nick Chubb had after his injury. Effective,
could be
effective, but not the second year that Nick Chubb had. Give him a year, use him as needed, but don't give him the ball 38 times.
He's going to have a lot better guys blocking for him than Nick Chubb had.
This is very true. So,
it was an adventure to get to the line of scrimmage that first year. I mean, come on.
That was a bad year. But it's, again, you saw Nick get more and more comfortable. You know, when he was 6 months away from being cleared versus 9 months away from being cleared versus a year and a half, he just got stronger and tougher. And I think the same way, he's past the being cleared stage or will be cleared soon, but then it'll only be a month or 2 months or 3 months since he's been cleared. And I think that first year,
good point.
Hey, there's no rush. You got plenty of time.
There is a rush.
The following year, go nuts.
But I would say this, and part of the show is the fact this is a Georgia-based show, but doesn't it make you feel good just to see Nick and Sony and Roquan, the way these guys represent the G?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when they go on, they're just class, man. I mean, they're just –
you can't ask for better representatives.
Forget about how they play, just the fact that – and that's what you want as a coach, you know.
Give me Ben Watson. Give me,
right. I'm glad Ben's going to go back and help Tom.
I saw yesterday, actually,
Matt Stafford's representing.
This summer, you've got Michael Barnett and Jeremiah Holloman interning with the NFLPA. They're hanging out with the Players Association, doing an internship with them. Two great guys to have representing.
Smart. You're going to tell a guy that you never – every time you see him in like a T-shirt that's, coming off the field of practice, Mecole Hardman is going to be wearing a G logo T-shirt.
No doubt.
I mean, so you got, to your point, you do have great representatives. Even the guys that are done. If you see a John Theus or a Greg Pike on the street, they're still ambassadors for the program. Hell, even Tyler Catalina was here 1 year.
Yep.
This is a guy who still raves about the university. So
Dante
Edey
says a lot of answers to some of these questions are on UGASports.com. Make sure y'all subscribe. Believe me, it's worth it. Thank you very much, Dante. You get the you get our award for favorite post. Yeah.
So these guys get to look at this show for free too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ab Harding says, question for Coach. Do you think Pickens could have an impact similar to Justin Ross at Clemson?
Ooh, man, that'd be too good to be true.
Wow. Yeah, that would be phenomenal.
That guy had a phenomenal, particularly that game against Bama. I mean, he looked like Velcro out there catching the ball.
He's unbelievable.
I think similar style, the big, fast guy that can he might not be as fast as Ross. What do you think?
I don't know about that. Yeah, I mean that's tough billing right there. Now look, I think that he's a great jump ball threat. I think he's a guy who has great hands. But
red zone.
Let's see. That's tough. I don't want to put that on anybody.
Mims, isn't he?
Yeah, I can see that.
But George, the thing I like about him, he stood up on and came to Georgia when he could have gone to Auburn. And that just shows you how smart he is.
There you go.
Chris Pryor here with a quick one. He says, Coach, will Georgia's defensive line group this year improve Georgia's ability at stopping the run? Got to have some seriously needed stops.
Yeah, I think there's going to be several things there. Jordan Davis coming back. Hopefully some of these younger guys are going to come in and give us more depth. But I think just from a tactical standpoint, we gave up a lot of rushing yardage last year to protect our secondary with drops by the ends, with drops by the interior people on zone blitzes and all, because of our inability to cover man-to-man and pressure people. So a good example would be the Missouri game where they got some easy runs because of some holes that we had trying to stop the block. But he didn't throw a touchdown pass. They got a couple rushing deals, but the ultimate is to win the game. I just feel like, from my standpoint, scouting us and looking at us, our secondary is so much better than it's ever been as far as talent, how they're going to mesh together. Our perimeter people underneath coverage is really good, and that's going to accentuate the outside rush guys who really are just in a different planet in that room. So I think the overall defense as a whole is going to be better against the run, because we're not going to defend the pass as much. We'll still be good at defending, but our will be more multiple as far as, playing down and distance to stop that down maybe than to stop that series. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense, but most people don't. When you say, hey, is our run defense going to be better, they're thinking about the 3-4, the 4-3, the hogs up front. And it's like, yeah, the run defense is going to be better because the secondary is better. You're like, wait, what? But no, it makes perfect sense. But
and you're going to get
that's how the defense
you're
works.
Get that heavily skewed stat, which counts against your rushes. When you get lost yardage passes go against your rushing stats, that'll be good. But I think our defense overall will be more prominent of being off the field because of our ability to make that stop and to call those defenses that stop the run, not worrying about a team throwing the ball on us when we're geared up to stop the run. Okay,
we got a couple more to hop in here, but I want to shout out.
Yeah, we're talking about people who represent well, who represent their university. We have a huge Georgia fan and Ryan Lucia over at Aaron Overhead Doors. This is a guy, again, like I always mention the fact that, he's in the customer service. He just happens to do garage doors. But here's the thing. They give back. And says, for as long as they've been in business, they've offered pro bono installation on garage doors and openers and even repairs to their neighbors in need. So it's like, look, you can't afford it, but you got to have this to fix your house. They've come out and done it. And since 2015, they've donated enough money to feed 20 families for Thanksgiving. And in 2016, they launched a hardship program that allows them to vote internally on which people they're going to help and how much. So they reach out to their installers and people in the office say, who do we need to reach out to? Well, I know somebody from my church who has X.
Sure. And
it's not just Ryan sitting in his office. He said, look, y'all get out there. Y'all are out in with the people. Find out who we can help. And
go over and help Roddy. Cranks his door up to get it.
And again, and it's family owned, so it's if you go out there and you say, hey, can I speak to Ryan? The owner, Ryan Lucia, is going to be there. Again, he's a giant Georgia fan.
Get Ryan over here one time, eat some champions. Let's meet him here. He's a good sponsor.
I got to go over there tomorrow and pick up my.
Yeah, you're running out of time, buddy.
my cocktail sauce, because somebody's going to the beach. I'm not going to talk about that jerk who's going to do that, but he needs it when he heads down there.
It should be noted, I'm also going to the beach, but I'm going to be working.
Where are you going?
So I'll be down in Florida here for the next couple of days. So I'll be looking for some fun stuff out of that.
Hey, good.
There's no fun stuff on this dime.
I know. Ronnie Brown here with a good question. He says, Coach, we hear a lot about how both offensive and defensive linemen are being cross-trained to play multiple positions. Is that something most schools do? How much of a benefit is it in recruiting, having examples like Mays, Salyer, and others to show if you're good enough to play, you will play?
Is he talking about cross-training here or in high school?
I think he's talking about here, getting guys ready to play guard or center.
He's not talking about switching offense, defense Notori Johnson or something. But sure, that's a tremendous deal because you want to – let's just pretend that you're an offensive tackle that wants to play early. It would been hard to look at playing early here coming in this year but with our two tackle situation. But you say, look, I can play you at guard and give you a little training at center and, all that different thing. And I think that's proofs in the pudding. That happens. So I think the ability that we said this before on the show, our deal is to play the best five. So if you're the sixth best guy and you're a left tackle, probably somebody, and you can't play center, but you can play guard, you might do that. And I thought it was a tremendous deal the other day when somebody wrote about Solomon Kinley.
Absolutely.
About, how good this guy was as far as, being graded out. Brent Rollins does a great job of giving that Pro Football Focus those grades and everything.
Get a membership there, too.
And that's worth it. Boy, those stats and things. But, people people say, well, hey, what's happened to Salyer? Why didn't he beat out Kenley? Hey, Kenley is strong. I mean, he's good. Did you know he was a lifeguard in growing up?
Yeah.
I like a guy that's got that ability to save my life playing left guard, don't you?
Well, he saved a lot of quarterback lives.
Oh, absolutely.
And here's the thing: when you see him, you think of him pulling, you're like, and then you see him do it.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
He's a lot more nimble than you'd expect.
Well, that's just it. He doesn't look it.
When have you ever seen a Georgia lineman pull? Are we going to start pulling people?
I've seen it happen.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that'd be great. I'd like to see us run the counter or run the but most of our stuff is just G. I wasn't busting you on it, but I like Kenley, though. I like our makeup of our line because, and to me, a basketball analogy, last night I stayed up and watched the Warriors play, and they got guys that are out, Durant and Cousins and all, but role players that when their chance came,
Absolutely.
they stepped up and played. This McKinney guy, Looney, those guys. And that's the same thing about our O-line. We might have some guys that might not be quite as good yet. Hopefully Condon, Erickson, some of these guys are going to come up. But they're part of the team, and they understand that you're going to get called on, and we're going to need you. You know what I mean? And I think our offensive depth at the offensive line is going to be great. Look at Trey Hill last year against Kentucky. Come on, man.
You got to love it.
I was impressive, wasn't it?
We got two last questions here I want to touch on real quick. Tony Land says, do you view any of the current commits as potential flips? The guy that I would probably watch the heaviest right now, just because I know how interested he was in other schools, is Akinola. I don't see that happening necessarily, but he had a ton of interest in Texas A&M, Oklahoma. A lot of people felt very good about that. He's got some family roots that'll probably stay there in Texas. So I do think that that's a guy I would monitor. I don't think anything's imminent.
We also had a good story from our Tennessee site about how hard they're going after Nazir Stackhouse.
Yeah,
Jeremy Pruitt is
going
trying
after everybody.
No, he's trying to steal him, and Nazir says he wants to be a chef, and when he after his playing career is done, and Jeremy Pruitt saying, yeah, you can come learn to be a chef at Tennessee. So maybe we need to get him over in the.
I got it. All I'm saying is I trusted defensive linemen to cook my food. Those guys know how to eat, man.
Well, speaking of food, and you want to talk about a good one, when you get a chance, swing by Your Pie. I actually was speaking to a guy yesterday who is trying to decide between opening a Zaxby's out in Vegas and a Your Pie out in Vegas, and I'm like, look, do the Your Pie. I guarantee it'll be a hit.
I got to tell you this too about Your Pie. The thing that I like about it is you just pick what you want, and it's a little hard to pick it because you're trying to think it's how it's going to go down your boiler because you got all that stuff out there. But I'm serious. You just sitting there looking at all these ingredients and all, and that guy just, hey, what else you want? Put it on there. And
it's not $2 a pop each
and
time.
And every place I've only been about 3 or 4 of them, but every one of them, those people working there look like they can't wait to help you.
Yeah.
And it's hard to tell. That's the same thing about here. It's hard to tell when you own a place how good the people are going to be working for you, but it just seems like they got some good people, and when you got good people working for you, you're going to put out a good product, and he's got the product. There's no question about that. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the Your Pie from the standpoint I didn't get to order my favorite kind, like you already know that, whatever you call it, but I put
Southern Heat.
I did a good job on it, and they got some other good things in there. My wife had a caprese salad. I mean, that would make a bulldog break its chain. I mean, that was good. I just think I like to be able to talk about our sponsors, and I'm just really happy with Your Pie.
All right.
Thanks, Drew French.
One last question here that I want to get to since we won't be on next week. Austin Springer says, where would a tandem of Kendall Milton and Marshawn Lloyd rank against the other great running back tandems Georgia's pulled out of high school? Chubb and Sony, Zeus and Cook, Gurley and Marshall as well. I'm going to say that I would put that second on the list. I would put that second on that list because Marshall, he didn't even list Gurley and Marshall. So, Marshall.
We should.
And so I'm going to go. I'm going to put them slightly ahead of Zeus and Cook just because we haven't seen what those guys have to offer. And I do like the I like the ability that these guys have. I like the traits they have that kind of play off of each other. In Kendall Milton, you've got a bigger back, a guy who is a little bit more powerful, but also a great runner. You got Lloyd, who's a bit of a bowling ball, and when he's coming through the holes. So,
what about the kid from Texas too, just in case?
Yeah, Seth McGowan. He's another powerful.
No, the other guy from Texas
Zach Evans. Yeah. Oh, gosh.
I just got to keep going, man. Come on.
So there's a lot on the board for Georgia this year as far as the running back spot goes. I think that they've got a chance to bring in an all-time great tandem there. And it's certainly one that should stack up with Chubb and Michelle or Zamir and
you
James
notice
Cook.
all those Georgia commits are reaching out to those guys, hitting them up constantly saying, hey, come to Georgia. I'll block for you.
Kendall's getting it harder than anybody I've seen. Everybody is tweeting.
That'll be good. Anyway, that's all the time we have for this week's show. We want to give a big shout-out to Athens Ford, Aaron Overhead Doors, Your Pie, Academia Brewing Company, 365 Game Day, Cable East. Big shout-out to Cable East and all the charity work they do. Thank you, Robert Wall out in Statham. And, of course, Champies here on Baxter Street and, of course, 11 Alive. So no show next week, but we will come back, I guess that first week of June.
Yeehaw.
Yeah, we'll see you then. You folks take care. Have a great time.
That's it for this episode of the UGA Sports Live Podcast. Tune in next week for more Georgia Bulldogs news and notes from Athens.